Om Shanti. Baba is giving us an education which was not available in the world. And when we receive it, processing it is also, it requires effort, it requires deep thinking about it, churning over it, because this is something very new, and there we have sanskars which are very much in contrast with this new education. So today Baba in the slogan says, remain constantly full of all attainments, and you will always be cheerful and happy with the fortune of happiness. So Baba says, remain constantly full of all attainments. Now, in body consciousness, you think that attainments are physical, but attainment is a thought. I have and I don't have is a thought. And according to how we are trained to perceive what counts as, being full of attainment and not being full of attainment, we stop ourselves from creating this thought that I have everything. It's a very deep training, we are trained to be dissatisfied. So, do you remember when you were a little child and you didn't know the difference between getting 40 marks in an exam and getting 90 marks in an exam? And you were happy in both. And then you were taught the difference between 40 and 90. And that's important. But you were also taught that you are not allowed to be happy in 40. That's where the problem arises. So, when you got a 40 and you were happy, you were asked, what are you so happy about? You should be ashamed. Stop giggling. Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling? Sit in that corner. Feel a little sad. So we are trained to do that. This being discontent, creating this feeling that I don't have enough, creating this, this sad state, not allowing cheerfulness and happiness to persist, is a training that we have received. And 63 births of training. And the thing is, in this drama is ever changing. So it is full of all colors. Sometimes someone will come, sometimes they will leave, sometimes things will come, then they have their own duration, then they leave. Sometimes what you think is your own will not come to you very easily. Sometimes what you don't even own will come to you very easily. So all of that, this is a ever-changing drama. And then sometimes you will be around some people and some things, and at other times you will be around other people and other things. But the point is, why do you lose your happiness about it? And in any case, you cannot put a finger on something or someone continuing the way and for the duration you want them to continue. Yes, so why stall your happiness for it? So Baba says, you must understand that you are a soul and now you have Baba. So you're not confused. You have the knowledge, you have the powers, you know yourself, you know your Father, you know how to connect with Him, you know how to connect and draw the light and might that He's teaching you to draw. And then Baba says, this is enough reason for happiness. So be happy because of this. And then whatever you keep doing in the world, keep doing it. And whatever has to come according to the drama will come, whatever has to leave has to leave. But come out of that programming that I'm not allowed to be happy if so and so or this or that is not behaving in a certain way. Even if the body is not behaving in a certain way, why lose your happiness? You are a soul, you have Baba. That's enough reason for happiness. And that's all that a soul needs. So in soul consciousness, you realize that's all you need. And then Baba also says that you have to be happy, and then you also keep creating a fortune of happiness. So it's not just being happy, and then what you do when you're happy is also very important. Yes, so there was a message I received the other day, and there was this sister who had stopped coming to the Murli, and then I asked, what happened? Why did you discontinue your journey? So she said, Didi, I wanted to write to you, and it's nice that you asked. So I'm very happy after finding you, after finding Baba, after finding Gyan. I'm very, very happy. And now all my, whatever questions I had have been answered. I know how to move forward. So I stopped coming. So, what does that mean? So, Baba says, no, there's a lot you need to learn and you need to create your fortune. So, yes, when Baba comes, knowledge is enough. You become happy with knowledge, you become happy with Baba. But then you have the burden of 63 births of sin, and that's going to show up. And to cross that in happiness, you will need power, which you will get from Murli and doing what Baba tells you to do in the Murli. And then the second thing is, burden of sin is one thing. Second thing is, in happiness also, if your buddhi is not working right, you will do karma which will make you suffer in the moment. Because you're not able to discern and decide well, or so you may create more vikarma, or and then Baba says, now I'm giving you the education to do karma which will make you earn the fortune for the next cycle. So how do you do that when you stop listening to the Murli and start enjoying sensual pleasures because now you're happy? So Baba says, be happy, and then in this happiness, do what you need to do. And then this also needs this programming, so we have this programming that God is for bad days. You know, God is for bad days, and people and sensual pleasure is for good days. So that's why in bhakti you say, जो सुख में सिमरण करे तो दुख काहे को है. If you remembered God on good days, then you will create a fortune. So Baba makes us, wise enough to not give away, throw away our happiness at anything. And then in that happiness, we have to lead a disciplined and a life based on Srimad. That's very important. Because again, as soon as we are happy, we pick up the mobile, we start watching something, we start, wasting our time and energy and things. So no, Baba says, in that happiness, you have to create a fortune of happiness. There's a lot of work to be done. Don't forget that. So this is Baba's slogan today, and you see, every bit of the Murli is full of such jewels. So today, and I told you in the beginning of the class that we have been working with these belief systems that, you are not allowed to be happy when you don't have this or that God is for bad days and not for good days. So you need to churn a lot. You need to churn a lot about these things in order to reactivate your capacity to be happy come what may. So, there is this whole process that Baba says that Manan, Chintan, Manthan, Simran, Smriti. So, Manan, Chintan, Manthan. So, when you start reflecting on what Baba is saying, and then you start, training yourself to stay in its awareness, then you come to its Smriti. It becomes part of your consciousness. And when it becomes part of your consciousness, then you will be able to do it, without even staying aware of it. So we have to do this inner work, start thinking about what Baba is saying. There is a capacity inside you that you can stay happy come what may, whether you find something, lose something, get something comes, goes away. You have this capacity to be happy. That's why 2500 years you were happy like that in Satyuga and Treta Yuga. But now in order to unlock that capacity, it requires a lot of deliberation and yoga and, a lot of thinking about it. So that's how you do it. And Baba says that you have to really think about what Baba is saying. And then Baba in the Murli today is talking about consciousness, and Baba says in the Murli, incorporeal Shiv Baba sits here and says to you children, may you be soul conscious. So first thing that Baba in the Murli today says is Atam Abhimani Bhava. So he wants us, he's giving the blessing, may you be soul conscious. And I told you that, this Manan, Chintan, Manthan, Simran and Smriti. So, these are 5 Hindi words. I don't know how to translate them in English, so I can't do that. But we will think about it, and you see that Baba says you have to be soul conscious. Now, what is consciousness? It is Smriti. So the final stage is consciousness. But before that, there is Manan. You have to reflect on the fact that you are a soul. there is Chintan, you have to think deeply about it. That which you call contemplation or rumination. So probably rumination is Chintan. And then there is Manthan. So you churn over it, you churn over the various aspects of what it means to be a soul. And then there is Simran. So Simran is the contemplative state, I think, where you are still and you are just in trying to be in the awareness of how you feel when you think you are a soul. And then there is Smriti, then it starts becoming part of your consciousness. And Baba says, keep thinking about how you're not a body, you are a soul. And as a soul, what are your capacities? As a soul, you are eternal, you're fearless, there is no comparison, you have nothing to lose, you have all powers, virtues. And then as a soul, you are very sure of your journey. You are not sure of your journey as a body because you don't know when the body is going to give away. But then as a soul, Baba has told you that you're going to Satyug. So when you are soul conscious, then you get in touch with all these aspects of fearlessness and happiness and powers and a certain certainty about the future and certainty and self-honor about knowing your past and knowing how powerful and essential you are, and that you have a relationship with God as a soul. So all of these things will start making sense to you if you start thinking about how you are a soul. So do you think enough about the fact that you are a soul and not who you think you are? How many of you really think about this thing, that you are a soul? And when you think about it, then there is a chance that you will become soul conscious. And why is it so important to be soul conscious? Because you see that Baba today says very nicely, Baba says, all the sanskars are in the soul. So the thing is, every sanskar is there in the soul. The soul is capable of complete peace and purity, come what may. And the soul is capable of a lot of anger, a lot of violence. The soul has all sanskars. But consciousness decides which sanskar of yours will be activated. Yes, so do you understand that why you can be so different with different people? So when you are with your mother, you are a different person. And when you are with your spouse, you are a different person. When you're with your children, you are a different person. When you're with your boss, you are a different person. And when you're with your boss, sometimes, and I tell you one thing. So there was this brother who told me that I'm a businessman and I have no shame. He used this language and he said, I have no shame. Even if somebody abuses me 10 times, but if it is profitable, I don't mind. So when you talk about tolerance, I have a lot of it. So I said, okay, even if you choose to call it as tolerance, I will not contest you on that right now. But then let me ask you one thing. Is your tolerance level, whatever you call tolerance, the same when you are with your employees? So will you take 10 abuses from your employee also? Take it in the same spirit as you see, as you are with the person you are striking a deal. Then he said, absolutely not. Then I said, then that's not tolerance. That's just how you think a businessman should be, and you have trained yourself to be like that. And so you see that in the words of that person, what he means is he has infinite capacity to not get hurt and take abuse when lying down, because he understands something is profitable and then he just lets it go. But then, even in the case of an employee is giving you profit, is he not? But then he has not trained himself to do that, so he cannot do that. So consciousness is so important. So when he switches, so how do you switch consciousness? I am. So I am is the switch of consciousness. So I am a businessman. You've suddenly shifted into that consciousness. And then that whole, aspect of you will get activated. And as soon as you slip out of that consciousness, you're not capable of that anymore. So Baba says, when you are always soul conscious, so we keep switching our consciousness according to our roles, because we are body conscious, and roles and the state of the body and what we see around us, hear around us, defines our consciousness right now. We are not able to, keep it stable. But Baba says, now you have to reflect deeply on the truth that you are a soul. And in your capacity as a soul, you are capable of infinite tolerance. You are capable of deep love, spiritual love. You're capable of giving. You're capable of, staying happy come what may. And then you can get in touch with all of those feelings all the time if you train yourself or really, practice to be soul conscious. So Baba gives us this direction that the soul has every sanskar, and if you want your divine sanskars, your powerful sanskars, your virtuous sanskars to stay active, then you have to practice being soul conscious. And a very important thing in this is repeating I am a soul is not soul consciousness. Okay, so today Baba says in the Murli that chanting God's name is not remembering God. And similarly, chanting the name of the soul is not being soul conscious. Okay, so when you remember somebody in the world, do you chant their name? So why do we do that when we are remembering ourselves and remembering Baba? So you don't chant anybody's name when you try to remember them. So remembrance is you remember the image and you remember the qualities, and they generate feelings inside you. When you remember the image of someone and when you remember the qualities of someone, how they speak, how they walk, how they talk, what are their virtues, what are their qualities, how they care for you, love you, then you generate feelings in your heart corresponding to that. And Baba says that's exactly how you remember yourself. So when you remember your small, tiny, beautiful star form of light, you feel beautiful about yourself. You feel happy about yourself. You feel the lightness. And then you remember your qualities, that you're peaceful, loveful, blissful. And then you feel the feelings that peace, happiness, and love make you feel. And you feel powerful about yourself. So soul consciousness doesn't mean I sit and मैं आत्मा हूँ, मैं आत्मा हूँ, मैं आत्मा हूँ. That's not soul consciousness. Or chanting Shib Baba, that's not remembering Baba. Remembering Baba is remembering Baba. Baba is Satyam Shivam Sundaram. You remember Baba's beauty, you remember Baba's truth, you remember all the knowledge Baba is giving you, you remember that Baba is such an ocean of love and purity and power flowing, flowing ocean of love, purity, and power, and you just soak in those vibrations and it recharges you, rejuvenates you. And then you feel the relationship of being, you feel the power of the relationship of being God's child. So that's what remembrance means. And that's how you practice being soul conscious and remembering God, not chanting the name you are a soul and chanting the name Shib Baba, Shib Baba. Yes, and it's also not about just the form. So, sometimes people will just see themselves as a point, a dead point, something like a laser light or a bulb light, and then God is also like a dead point of light, bulb light. No, God is not a bulb light or a laser light, and I am not a bulb light or a laser light. I'm a conscious being. So I'm bubbling with virtues and powers and qualities, and Baba is the ocean of qualities. So I have to experience that. So Baba says, by chanting my name, you get nowhere. And by remembering me, you get everything. So there's a lot of difference between that. And then Baba today says that this whole question of soul consciousness and body consciousness arises in this confluence age. And in the soul world, there is no problem because there is no body and there is no consciousness. So soul world is pretty unconscious. So the soul is just there. It's not, its mind and intellect are not active. So the question of being soul conscious doesn't arise in the soul world, it arises here. And then Baba says, when you do the inner work of becoming soul conscious now, then you will take this sanskars for 2500 years in Satyug. And today Baba also tells us something very nice. Children, now become soul conscious and your sins will be absolved. You will then become conquerors of sinful actions. Now the thing is, how do you understand that when you become soul conscious, your sins will be absolved? Because you see, your sins have a deep connection with your sanskars. Yes? So let's take one example. If somebody is telling me something, but I don't have the sanskar to feel insulted, I have the sanskar to feel compassionate. Okay, somebody is saying something and I understand that It's a weak soul, and I have to have compassion with them. Yes? So, just like, when your grandparents keep bickering all the time, then parents teach you, you have to have compassion for them. They are old and their memory has failed, so they'll do these things, and you just give them what they want and just, be around them and don't mind. And you're able to do that, don't you? So that's with the power of consciousness. But then, if you're always soul conscious and you don't know how to feel insulted, you only remember that anybody who is behaving badly is doing so because they are in a weak place. And then you are always compassionate about it, just like nurses and doctors, they always know that when people are shouting, screaming, they are in pain. So, if you are able to come to that place, then you will not feel any pain, come what may. So, even if the situation around you is not good and people are not behaving well, you are absolutely okay. So, that means your sins have been absolved, because they are not circumstances and behaviors and situations. When they are not able to disturb you, upset you, that means your sins have been absolved. And soul consciousness can make you reach that stage. So, when you're soul conscious, then you don't mind the circumstances, you don't mind where you are, you don't mind how the other person with you is. So, that means your sins have been absolved. And then when you are in that stage, then Baba says, you will also become conquerors of sinful actions. Because when a situation is able to affect you, then you react to it. And that's where you create a sinful action. Yes, and most of the time, or all of the time, your reaction doesn't help the situation. It may, the situation might get worse because of it, but never better. So Baba says, when you're soul conscious and you're able to stay in your awareness despite everything, then you don't react and you don't create further sin. Yes, and I will tell you one thing, that I have been in situations in life where there have been repeated, patterns of behaviors. Like, a person is always behaving in a certain way. And then it has become like a continuous thing and it has become quite stretched. But when I have not reacted, so when I've just practiced being soul conscious, and also, being soul conscious makes you very focused on what you want to do and who you want to be. So, despite whoever or whatever, who you want to be and what you want to do becomes your priority. And then, because of that priority, I have not reacted. And I have seen that whole, that whole built up dying down because I have not reacted. So there's this whole wave of karmic settlement which comes and strikes you in the face, but then because you're soul conscious and you don't contribute by doing further sinful action, that whole wave just goes down and it just breaks itself. And I've seen that happen. So Baba says that this soul consciousness is very, very important, because you become free from your sins, so you don't feel the hurt or pain or get upset about things because of your ego. And then the second thing is, you don't react, so you don't create further sin. So whatever account there is, it starts getting finished. And there is no other shortcut. This is the shortest cut. So it can't get shorter than this. This is the shortest way in which you can finish your sins. And Baba is giving us a very fast machinery of soul consciousness to deal with old sins and also refrain from engaging in new sinful action. And then Baba today says that, Baba is talking about seva, and Baba is talking about how to serve those who go and take bath in the Ganges to liberate themselves of sins. And I have seen, so I have been to Haridwar once after Gyan, and I see what Baba says is so important, because people are just bathing and bathing and bathing, and they think that this bathing is going to really clean themselves of sins, and it's bizarre. So Baba says you have to ask them. So you have to, when you ask somebody a question, then their intellect starts working. The intellect which has been sleeping all this time in bhakti has to be activated, and you ask them questions about whether God, the ocean of knowledge, can purify the soul, or the Ganges can purify the soul. But before that, you have to ask the question whether sin has been accumulated by the soul or the body. Because people don't know that the soul is actually getting the all the imprints of the sin that you're creating. And then you have to give them the whole understanding of how the soul is tainted, and the water cannot touch the soul. So it's knowledge that is needed to wash the soul of sins. So make that understandable. And then Baba today talks about being karmatit. So the interesting thing is karmatit, and Baba always says karam yogi, karmatit. Why? All the problem arises in action. So, when you're just sitting in a corner and eating food and watching TV, okay, so you are your best self, very cheerful, happy, joyful, full of gratitude, talk lovingly. But when you are in action, that's when one needs to see you. So there's a whole big heap of utensils to wash, and then it's cold, and then there is no hot water, and then no maid coming that day, and then people have to see you how detached and loving you are. so so Baba says karmatit is very important, because otherwise everybody is nice, but only in karam, when you are in action, that's when the problem arises, because you get pulled in by the action. So, when you are doing an action, then the task and the energy of the task starts pulling you. So, if it's a strenuous task, you start feeling the strain. If it's a laborsome task, you start laboring inside. If it's a task where you have to be authoritative, then you start getting egoistic inside. If it's a task where you have to be polite, you start getting emotional inside. So we have to understand that the energy of the task, so you may have an administrative role, you may have a role that deals with money. So even if you're dealing with money all the time, how do you you just be free from greed and deal with that whole money stuff? Or even if you are in an administrative position, how do you stay humble and talk in authority? So, you have to stay humble inside, and then you have to talk with authority. So, how do you bring about this balance where the energy of the task doesn't move you from the energy of you as a soul? And Baba says that you have to practice this. So, whenever you are doing a task, just know that you are a soul and connect your intellect with Baba and feel the feelings of being a soul and feeling Baba's love and support, and then do the task in this manner. So be detached from the task, be loving with Baba, and then in that love of Baba, do everything in the way that Baba, teaches you. And in that state, your inner state will be in alignment with Baba, and the outer state of the task will not pull you. So that's a practice. You have to practice a lot, and obviously, Karmatit stage is the final state. So it won't come easy. It has to be practiced a lot. And when we are able to stay, you know, just very peaceful and calm and very loving and happy while doing anything whatsoever, and the energy of the task doesn't shift our inner energy. That's what Karmatit stage is all about. Okay. Om Shanti.